Yeah.
So how do you think about balancing efficiency
Yeah.
with trustworthiness in both the Glean product, but also Glean the company?
Well, I think actually my point of view is that they're not actually at odds with each other most of the times.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Somesh Dash, and we're here for the IVP Undaunted series with Arvind Jain, co-founder and CEO of Glean. Glean, as many of you know, is an AI-powered workplace search and knowledge discovery platform. Before Glean, Arvind co-founded Rubrik, and he spent over a decade before Rubrik at Google, where he helped scale some of the most critical infrastructure at the company. He's a seasoned entrepreneur and engineer. Arvind is really passionate about using AI to make knowledge more accessible and organizations more productive. Okay, Arvind, so we're gonna kick this off with a word association game where I'm gonna throw rapid fire, 5 to 7 words for you, and I want you to share the first thing that comes to your mind without any filters. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
So the first word is connection.
You know, our company, the tech network, all the people that I work with, over the past few years.
Open source.
It's big. We have to be open source first. That's how we build our product. And we believe open source is going to win in AI as well.
Culture.
The most important thing for a company to succeed.
Avocados.
I love them.
Dedication.
Dedication. I think the most important quality that one can have to succeed in their career.
Wow. Delhi, with an H.
Delhi with the H. Well, one of the place where I went to study, I've best memories, love the city.
Cricket.
I've not been a big fan of cricket, surprisingly, being an Indian, but I still enjoy watching the game.
Roger Federer.
He's a great tennis player. Would wish Nadal would win over him, in the matches.
Me too. I always like Nadal as well. And finally, family.
The most cherished asset, the most important thing. I'm glad, that we get to spend time with, family. When building the startup.
Amazing. So I want to first start, Arvind, with talking a little about the founding journey.
Yeah.
And how you built conviction, around doing Glean after Rubrik. You did 2 companies, not even one after Google. First Rubrik, which I had the pleasure of working with you through IVP's investment, where I was served on the board for 7 years, and now with Glean. So what inspired you to take on the challenge of starting a second company based on everything you knew? And was there a moment where you had to block out the data and noise and just trust your intuition along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, first, I think I've enjoyed the journey of building a company. It's truly rewarding. I love the feeling, and the story of Glean was a problem that we were facing at Rubrik.
Yeah.
At Rubrik, as you knew, we grew very fast. We had a good business, but that fast growth actually also caused some problems. As we grew went from 500 to 1,500 employees. Our productivity was actually, reducing, as the team was growing. Some of it is normal, things slow down as companies become large. But I think there's more to it. And I think, one of the big issues that we saw, that our team complained about, in our pulse surveys was this inability to actually make sense of all the knowledge, all the data inside the company, not knowing, where's the information that they needed to do their work. And also, another big challenge was, not being able to find the right people who could help them, do things. This was actually a big complaint that we always see in our pulse surveys, and something that personally also frustrated me. And so when we saw this as one of the lowest scoring questions in our Culture Amp survey, I used to run IT internally, and I said, well, we got so many different systems, inside our company, our knowledge is fragmented. And let's go and buy a product that could actually search over it. Because that's my background. I'm a search engineer by training. And when somebody says I can't find things, the first instinct for me is to put a search product on top of all of our enterprise data. And as part of that exploration, we realized that there was no product to actually buy.
Right.
And I was really surprised. This is such a fundamental problem. It was not limited to us for sure. I talked to many other companies, and they all said the same thing, that look, go and if you find something good, to help our employees, quickly find information, let me know. And so that was sort of the origins of like how the thought of Glean actually started to come to me. And at some point, like, I was fully convicted that, like, in the sense that we want to do this. This is important and this is big. This is a big problem. We're going to make a big impact in the world if we solve this problem. This was not a area or a domain that was exciting to people.
Right.
Enterprise search was probably the most boring, the thing that like most boring area, or like the most difficult area. Like basically there's a graveyard of companies. Nobody had succeeded. And so I had investors like who knew me, who who pleaded with me that look, we would love to back you in your new company, but can you do something else, not this? and so I think, and I was surprised. I'm I'm an engineer, and doubt is part of my existence. Like always question things. But somehow, I had this unwavering, conviction that this was a problem to be solved, regardless of what everybody was telling me.
I mean, you used the word conviction. If you look back now, what gave you that inner confidence and strength, I think, to not listen to the noise, all the competitors who started coming in, and just stay the course?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes to, I guess I have a very simple way of deciding, whether a problem is worth solving or not, and which is, well, look, is it a big problem? Is it are there a lot of people who could benefit from a product like this? And then it doesn't matter whether they've bought a product like this, and whether there's budgets for it. I feel you solve something fundamental, you will if you build a good product, you will actually, all the other things will fall in place. And so that was my belief with Glean, that yes, we were going into this market with no budgets. We were going to build a product which would feel like a vitamin, not a painkiller. But I knew that look, the end users, I know that they are going to actually love this product. They're going to like it. They're going to save time with it, and so everything else will hopefully fall in place. And we just sort of start with that optimism. You don't have the plan. You just believe and hope that other things will fall in place.
Well, I remember, you may not remember this, but the first time I had dinner properly with you was after we did the Series C of Rubrik, and we had dinner at Amber in Los Altos.
Yeah.
And we sat around with you, Bipul, Nitro, and so I'm the four founders. And you actually asked me what gave us the conviction to back AppDynamics at a time when application performance management wasn't a market that was really top of mind for CIOs.
Yeah.
And I think you've always been a student a little bit of how to be contrarian by using products, which is a good segue to some of my other questions for you on how do you build great product-driven organizations. You spent a decade at Google, the world leader in working on search, and that product has transformed the world, truly.
Yeah.
What's a lesson from the Google experience that helped influence in how you built Glean?
At Google, we had this culture of bring the best engineers to the company, and then let them just figure out what they need to work on. Nobody was given an assignment, that well, you will come and you'll solve this problem. Everybody had to figure it out on their own. You look at the product, it's in front of you, figure out what you don't like about it, and go and make that product better that way. And I really like that that sort of model of product building and that engineering culture of build the best team in the world, and then let them decide what we need to build. So as an example, at Glean initially, we didn't have product managers. Engineers were not being told what to do. Everybody had to figure out by themselves what they would build. That was one of the big lessons that we got from Google. And the other one that I would say is that search is actually a very hard problem. In some ways, it's like magic. You can come in and you can type in a few words, you can misspell them, and the search engine actually has to understand what you meant, what you may be looking for, and then it has to actually go through millions and millions of documents, actually find things that are relevant to what was on your mind. And so it's a hard problem. People don't realize it, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time to build. And so the other thing that when we started Glean, were that we were not in a rush, we're not in a hurry. We didn't want to actually go and build a product in 3 months, which is sort of for most startups, that's what you want to do.
Right.
You want to actually iterate, fail fast, bring, but I think we felt that we won't get a chance to, with our users again, if we actually build something too quickly, which was not ready for them. Because once you come, search, if the search bar doesn't answer your questions properly, you're not going to come to it again. So like we also had the patience to sort of go and spend the time, build the product over 18 months, before we really started to get like a big number of users using it.
The two things you hit on that I'll see from my own experience also is you were very deliberate about when you started building the go-to-market engine.
Yeah.
And I've seen that pattern also a little bit at companies like AppDynamics and Harness and Nutanix, like some of the best infrastructure companies actually invested early, forward invested almost, in R&D before they started turning on the go-to-market engine. That's different than I think this notion of things that are lower cost, faster deployment, where go-to-market was almost day one for a lot of those companies. And that's a little bit of what I think the nuances that you brought to Glean from the learnings at both Google and at Rubrik.
Yeah.
The other question I had though is, Glean has gone very quickly into becoming truly, in my opinion, a category leader in an emerging category.
Yeah.
When you look at other companies that may have inspired you or you study, were there one or two examples that you looked at and said, okay, there's learnings from this for what we could do with Glean?
Yeah, well, I mean, Google, like as you already discussed, like has been the biggest influence. Partly also because I spent over a decade of my career, so most of the things that I've learned, like on how to build engineering teams, how to sort of design products, like a lot of those learnings come from Google for me personally. But other companies, we had a lot of learnings from Rubrik too, of course, like just coming from there. And when you make a bunch of mistakes, where things don't go well, like that's top of mind always for you. That don't repeat those mistakes, learn from them. Other companies, we took a lot of inspiration from Slack. Slack was actually so similar to us in the sense that it was a product that was not bought before they built it. Like, I think chat products were probably free or
That's right, yeah.
or non-existent.
Yeah.
Right? And so they had to actually go and create a category. They had to convince people that this was a product that was worth buying. You could imagine like, a CFO saying, hey, why are you actually building a tool where people just talk to each other? Like, that's loss of productivity. So there was like, but there's a lot of like, similarities, and they built a great product. People absolutely loved it. And of course they had that amazing business success. So they were like, so we actually learned a lot from Slack, how they build their business, how they build their product, and how they build the community. And we try to sort of embrace, as much of that, in our company as well.
That's we were lucky to be early investors in Slack. The other thing that you have done very similarly is a lot of word of mouth actually helps get a product like Glean adopted in the enterprise. And so what we saw is typically Slack was being adapted by somebody using their credit card in a department to just get it going.
Yeah.
And then bottoms up, there was such an exciting motion that you almost had no choice but to pay for it if you were a CIO.
Yeah.
But I think similarly what we've seen at Glean is a lot of departments are starting to like utilize it. People talk about it, they love it. I've been at dinners, Arvind, where people say to me, what makes work fun for me, one of your missions, is using Glean so I could spend time on the really important tasks that I really want to solve.
Yeah.
Is that kind of one of the things that you always dreamed of, is to make work fun again?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think like, fun is before fun, like, first, like, let's make the work less frustrating, and so that's been like, I think I was seeing this, like, people, like, they really struggle, like, as knowledge workers, this inability to sort of really know that, like, look, the data is there, the information is there, and I have a question, I need to do some analysis, and the heavy lift that is required to actually get to that right information, to process it, and get those answers that you would like, that you wish you just had like instantly available to you. I think it causes a lot of frustration. So like, when we started out, like, that was our mission, like, make reduce that frustration and make work more pleasant.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a big part of it. And I think like we're lucky, by the way, like, when we started, look, Glean is probably one of the first company to bring transformers technology to the enterprise. We didn't know like how big transformers and language models would become like over the next 5 years. We started in 2019, right? Before, nobody was thinking about this stuff at that time. Like at the time, like, we felt like, with transformers, we could build a truly amazing search experience, but we were still only thinking about search experience, right? By which I mean that, well, when you come and ask questions, I will surface the right information back to you.
Right.
We were also thinking about, well, sometimes, we'll extract precise answers and actually show them to you. But
Yeah.
we're not thinking about generation. We're not thinking about reasoning because those capabilities have not yet emerged in these models. But then they have over the years, and it has just allowed us to accelerate that vision and that desire that we have. Now you can actually talk about that Glean does make work fun.
Yes.
Because you can actually you can you can do so many cool things with
Yeah.
where you take your enterprise data and knowledge and you make AI work on it, and in fact it does creative things for you. It does like if I'm a marketer, I'm trying to actually write something, sort of helps me get past that writer's block. And so
Wow.
so work is definitely getting more entertaining and fun because it's sort of you have assistants and who are actually taking care of things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one of the hardest things, as you've seen with both Rubrik and now Glean, is building something that's truly defensible. From a product perspective, how do you think about product differentiation as the markets become more competitive? And what is your philosophy in competition? Do you think about it? Do you completely ignore it? Do you use it as motivation for yourself or the team?
It's a great question. I believe competition is very important to drive your own teams. Engineering teams, we everybody needs motivation. For a long time, for example, with Glean, the first 4 or 5 years of our journey, we had no competition.
Yep.
Nobody was building this product, or nobody was anywhere close. So then you can only look forward and innovate, and there's no real urgency that is coming from externally. The only thing is that yes, you want to move fast and you want to innovate. So anyway, so from a competition perspective, I think it's great that we have it now. That there are a lot of companies, large companies that are actually building products similar to ours. They're taking inspiration from us. So first, of course, it feels good to be the pioneer, to be the lead, the leader of this emerging space. But competition is coming and it motivates us. But our core mode of execution is not to look overly focus on what other players are doing, but actually focus more on our customers and our users and look at what needs they have. Especially when you are on the when you are at the front.
Yeah.
People are catching up with you. So we want to take inspiration from cool new ideas that they build, but largely our roadmap and everything is driven by what our customers and our users want.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was a student at Stanford, Andy Grove spoke, and in that time, the most popular way of viewing competition is only the paranoid survive.
Yeah.
And then the other extreme I felt was Reed Hastings at Netflix, who sort of said you ignore a competition.
Yeah.
I think most of the founders we work with, we see are sort of in the middle, where the problem with the paranoid survive mentality is that a lot of it is hypothetical. It's what might my competition do?
Yeah.
And you can't really control that, they can.
Yeah.
What you can control is what you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you just hit on, Arvind, which I think is very powerful, is how do we get the best version of an innovative, creative product and engineering organization to be able to build things that our customers love.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to switch a little bit to talking about culture and leadership, two of the words that we talked a bit about in the word association. So the mission, as we mentioned, is making employees both productive and happy at work.
Yeah.
But internally, you as the leader have to set that tone first. How do you personally lead by example when it comes to setting company culture? And are there any values that you really focus on instilling when you hire people?
Yeah. So, well, we got all the standard good attributes, that, we want everybody in the company to follow. Like that's hard work, dedication, being a good team player, move fast, be action, have a bias to action. So these are all standard values. I don't think there's anything special about Glean and our values, as such, compared to other companies. But I think what matters the most to me personally, are two things. One is just hard work and dedication.
Yeah.
And I feel don't overthink. I don't think too much about hey, is this task that I'm going to be doing now, is it actually beneficial to me or my career or for my long term? Like I think if you have too many questions about the work that you do, I think it's just like it's not a happy existence in my opinion. Like it's just like so I have this bias towards like like do whatever it takes, take whatever work is in front of you, get it done, and I just have I drive pure joy from just like that sense. I have this feeling of accomplishment. That works beautifully for me. Like anything that I get done, it didn't matter. Like if I ordered a laptop for an employee, so it can ship it ships to them. Like sure somebody else could have done that too, but I'm happy just getting some work done. So that's the core value that I want to drive. In everybody in the company is just work hard, get things done, and then the second one is respect, and trust and respect. So we hire amazing people. They're all very accomplished. But sometimes, like when you're so accomplished, you may actually, not respect others, as much. Like you're so good, and like not everybody's going to be as good as you, on certain things. And that's the thing I like to always remind people is that like everybody's good at something. That's the thing that that we, like want them to, like bring to the table. Like like a company is just like. A company is no different from a basketball team or a baseball team. Not everybody knows how to pitch. Not everybody knows how to bat, right? It's we all bring something to the table, and build this culture of like where you respect everybody for what they bring, and not focus on things that they're not yet good at, but hopefully help them get better at those things. So this is important. Like I think like that's the thing which is harder, I would say, than most people realize. Like it's so you have to sort of just constantly remember that, and that's the thing that I try to actually tell people. Hopefully I don't know how I am personally myself embody that, but I think I do, and that's important for a company.
Well, I have to jump in because I think one of the things you don't give yourself enough credit for is how much you embody that spirit of respect, and not just within the company but also with customers. So one of the things I see a lot that happens is when a company scales, the founding team or the executives get away from feeling like, hey, if the customer isn't paying us over $1 million, it's not worth my time.
Yeah.
You said two things right now. One is that overly obsessing about those sorts of things, where I should spend my time versus doing things that bring you joy, can be detrimental to your personal satisfaction and the company's growth.
Yeah.
The other is that no one should ever be so far above the company as a founder, CEO, that it's below you to talk to a customer. I think that's what breaks companies. I've seen many enterprise companies not scale because the founder gets too far away from actually talking to customers. And look, these customers, it's a big responsibility and commitment to buy something like Glean.
Yeah.
And I think what you've done such a great job of is say, hey, like I will always make time, even if it's evenings, weekends, holidays, to talk to customers about how they could become customers of Glean, or existing customers, how we can improve their service offering.
Absolutely. Like we exist because of them. I mean, I think there's nothing more important in my mind than actually like listening to them, understanding their needs, and actually bringing success to them, right? And that's what's going to bring success to the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's always a balance, as you've seen at both Rubrik and Glean, of moving really fast, breaking things, but also keeping very high standards.
Yeah.
So Glean is built to make teams more efficient, but that can't come at the cost of precision and accuracy, especially with the Fortune 500 customers you're working with.
Yeah.
So how do you think about balancing efficiency with trustworthiness in both the Glean product, but also Glean the company?
Yeah. Well, I think actually my point of view is that they're not actually at odds with each other most of the times.
Yeah.
Efficiency and like moving fast and also like being careful and not breaking things. I think they're aligned, often. And I think like the way they will align is that when you build systems, you keep simplicity in mind. You actually don't try to do a lot of different things at the same time. Like focus, like simplicity, like in engineering design, in product, like interfaces will both like help you move fast, and also like build a more stable product for your customers. So we are like so I don't exercise that, like I don't think I've ever told anybody in our company that like no go slow and be careful. Like I don't think I do that. And in fact I'll give you an example. Like oftentimes, especially like as engineers are early in their career, they feel like, well, look, we have a deadline, we could finish this task in 1 week. And so I'm going to actually hack it up and do it. And then after that, I'll actually go and, build a better version when I have more time. Now, if you think about it, like, ultimately what you've done here is that you actually are going to take more time because you're going to throw that thing away and build something else. And in fact, you may have cut some corners and you saved some time today, but now this thing is going to break in the field, and like when it breaks in the field, it's going to create work, that's the, which is like 20 times more time consuming than like, if you had just spent a few more, like a little bit more time here. So I think there's this, when you start to sort of not think carefully, then these things can be at odds with each other. When you think long term, then these things are actually fully, perfectly aligned, in my opinion.
Oh, that's amazing. So Arvind, my final question, building a company, as you know now, twice, now even once, is never a straight path. So through all the pivots, the learnings, the challenges, the joy, what keeps you undaunted in this quest?
Well, I think the prize at the end, is it's incredible. Like imagine, like every person who benefits from, the technology that you built, and they get more work done. They get, high quality work done with it. Like, I think it's just that I'm just like excited about that. About that, that world, where we made an impact. And so that's what drives me, with Glean. And we have an incredible opportunity here. Like, we are very, very fortunate to have started working on this problem 6 years back. The market, the AI technologies, like it couldn't have aligned better for us in terms of timing. And so Glean has the potential to be one of the best AI companies of the future, and be very influential in this transformation that we're going to go through. How we work as humans is going to fundamentally change over the next few years, and we have the opportunity to play a big role in that transformation. So that's the most exciting part, and for me, I'm really, really excited about working on the problem, and to be clear, we're super early, so there's a lot to be done here, and that's the exciting part too. I always have this. I think I have the athlete's mindset here. The challenge actually drives me more to actually go and solve it. So that's another part. That we're going to see a lot of those on this journey. Like as you said, these journeys are not straightforward. You have to tackle a new challenge every month, every 6 months. And I would say, I guess in AI you have to tackle it every month or every few weeks. Yeah. So we have to just be on this journey, and I think it's just the journey itself is fun, and the prize at the end, which is making that big impact, is also a big motivating factor.
Well, for me, it's been especially rewarding because I haven't had a chance to see, as the cloud transition was happening, seeing you at Rubrik, as one of the core co-founders there, and then now as the AI transition, another big platform shift is just early days starting. Being involved with Glean, you and the amazing team, including some of our own IVP alum, has been really rewarding.
Well, thank you so much. And actually, I also have some word associations for you, Somesh.
Oh no!
So let me go and say a few to you. So first one, pour over.
Oh, very satisfying in a meditative, relaxing way, but also time consuming, so I don't do it as much as I wish I could.
South Bay.
Home. It's where I grew up. It's where my parents moved to from, Marin County in Canada before. My parents are Indian immigrants, and so I have a lot of love, as I think you do as well, for Silicon Valley, but specifically the South Bay where I grew up.
Efficiency.
Similar philosophy as you. I believe that it's not a goal, but a byproduct of working well.
Competition.
Fuels me, gives me motivation to hit my own potential, or in the companies like Glean, it's only a tool to be able to help us get to our mission faster.
And last, family.
Everything. As you said, I think for me, just the joy of seeing 3 generations, my parents, my wife, my kids now. It's my son's 10th birthday.
Oh,
and so the last member of our family to hit double digits, as I said this morning. So really special and very grateful.
Happy birthday to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, Well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arvind. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. This was the IVP Undaunted series, and thank you to Arvind Jain for being with us today.